Hello and welcome to Gurusthalam and Online Learning Center. I'm Uttam Pal along with the chapter 2 How to Study Cisco and Networking. Most students who are new to networking find it very difficult to understand and memorize everything they need to know in order to pass Cisco examinations. Whenever I teach Cisco CCNA in the classroom, I explain students a little bit how to prepare themselves and how to study. For CCNA, there is a lot of stuff you have to remember, and trying to brute force it into your brain is not the best method. When you want to study Cisco networking, there are certain things you have to learn or you have to achieve from various part of study, theory and practicals. You can learn about all the different protocols by reading books, watching videos, or joining a classroom course to understand how to use protocols on routers, switches, and other devices in the network. Practical experience is achieving by getting your hands dirty and configuring network devices, and you need to focus in this part approximate 90% of your whole study, and you have to able to implement the theory by configuring routers, switches, firewalls in the network. According to my experience, that most networking students spend 80% of their time reading books and only 20% on the practical side. The time spent on configuration is mostly seen by me, very frankly, by copy pasting commands just to have seen by my own how it works. This is not a very effective method. So, what we do? This model is known as learning pyramid and shows different learning learning methods, and I'm not entirely sure where this model came from. It's very old and the percentages that you see are probably far from accuracy. The idea of model is to show the effectiveness of different study techniques. There are two different methods: passive learning methods and another one is active learning method. There are four passive learning methods. They are lecture, reading, audiovisual, and demonstration. The lecture is top and probably the most ineffective method of learning. This is where the instructor is standing in front of the classroom explaining things while you only listen. Please don't get me wrong, having an instructor explain material to you is very important, but it should not be too long because our attention span is very short, which is not more than 30 minutes. Reading is the next in the list where you use a self study guide to understand everything. Audiovisual could be a pre recorded video of an instructor explaining things to you. A good example are my uh, CCNA lectures, YouTube videos, JLC walls, etc. etc. In demonstration is where an instructor show you in real life scenarios how to configure certain things by showing you lab techniques through connecting routers, switches, and different devices in the single network. study method are all passive methods. It's almost like watching televisions. You just let the material fly by while you sit or lie down. After that, there are three active methods are for more interesting, I guess. They are group discussion, practice, and teaching others. Group discussion is something for the classroom where you discuss with other students about certain topics. Practice is where we configure network devices, and in Cisco land we call these labs. And I'm a big fan of doing labs, and more labs. So here, a keynote that I'm not talking about copy pasting commands, but really thinking about scenarios, building networks, and doing debugs to really find out what is going on. Teaching is a very effective as you will find your weaknesses. You can't explain what you don't understand. This is especially true when you are standing in front of the classroom with the people firing questions at you. You will have to know your stuff, what you are teaching at that particular time. All these active methods have in common that they make you think. It's not about sitting back and relaxing. You will have to put your brain to work. My advice to you: spend 20% of your time on reading or watching instructional videos, and 80% of your study you you start doing labs, and more labs. So now, so now you know you should be doing labs most of your time. Anything else that is good to know. There is something about your memory that you should understand. Let me show you how. In back days, Herman Ebbinghaus did research on memory retention and created something called the forgettive curve. Here you are seeing the forgettive curve. This shows us how fast we forget information. We don't repeat information. I made up the numbers it just to give you an impression of how your memory works actually. If you learn something and don't repeat it after 21 days, you will remember 20% of what you have learned on day 1. The more often you review information, the more you will remember. This is because information is moved from your short term memory to your long term memory. How often you should review information and how much you will remember is up to debate and personal experiences, but I think you get the idea. As you are studying, you should create notes so that you can review what you learned before. So, in this chapter, you have we have discussed various things according various things for how to study Cisco networking, learning, group discussion, by practices, by teach others, by reviewing information. That's it for now. For more information, please visit www.gurusalam.com. Thank you.